This week on Synergy, we are so excited to welcome Andrea Fernandez, who has a marvelous way of communicating and being present for people, which comes in handy with Quest programs, where she helps people translate their one-to-one programs or in-person programs into the online space. Welcome, Andrea.
Well, thank you for receiving me here.
Well, I'm personally very excited about your program and your skill set that you offer. As I understand it, you are helping people translate what they've learned that they want to share, that people are often doing in the in-person space, and you are helping do it to reach a much broader audience online. How did you come to this?
It's a long story. I have a background as translator and teaching English in companies in Argentina, where I am from and where I live. And after many years of teaching, I started to teach in the university to groups of lots of students, and I realized that I couldn't reach everybody. So what I started to do is to study how to teach online. I did a master in the University of Buenos Aires. I am finishing it. I finish it in next December. And during that process, I did a lot of online courses with Jean Houston, Clara Zammit, and I realized of the potential of connection, of healing, of how we are all the same all over the world, and we don't have sometimes the right tools for understanding each other. And well, what I have studied is how to make things simple, create spaces for people to learn, and basically that's what many people know they want to teach something. They have learned a lot of things in their lives, and they say, okay, I don't want this to be lost. I want to give it to others. And sometimes it's not easy, because in many classes, in many things online, we see people making conferences and then questions. And actually, that's not teaching. That is making conference and then a question form. So there are certain techniques that I am learning from the academic world that can be used in the non-academic world, and that because what I have learned from the university is that we only worry about the intellect, the mind, and internet is offering possibilities for the heart, to connect from the heart and to learn from the heart and to learn from and to connect spiritually, not religious, spiritually, with people from all over the world, from our essence of human beings, and that we have a lot to share. And we have a lot to learn from other cultures, and I think there's a way that it can be easier. It can be easily done. And
there is so much to unpack in what you've just said, because I think there's so much value. The thing that sticks with me at this particular moment is the opportunity in the online space. Correct me if I'm wrong. It seemed that you said that academia is addressing a certain portion of the human person as they develop, that the online
mind.
Space, just the mind, and the online space is allowing people to connect much deeper. You
can also do it in person, but online there is a power. I have two Power of 8 groups where we connect with people from all over the world. I also belong to a group that is called Quantum Co-Creators, and we are from 5 different continents, and also another group of Spanish co-creators or influencers, where we create for the Spanish speakers world. And there's so much we can learn from each other, and the internet is giving a great opportunity for that. So as a translator, I can help people translate what they live in their everyday lives into a virtual language.
Well, that's a pretty amazing thing because we all do, as we learn things, we want to share it to save our compatriots the trouble of that we, because typically we learn things through a certain amount of difficulty, right? Um, One of the things I've noticed about you in our program, Andrea, is that you are very direct and very clear, and but at the same time very, very open to new things. And this kind of expression is something that I think that we really only, in the past, you could only have one-on-one. And now that there are these collaborative spaces, it's kind of exciting to see what's happening in these small groups and Power of Eight groups and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit more about how those groups have influenced this process for you?
How they have influenced this process. They have open channels. They have opened awareness, and as all the groups I am in are intercultural, from different people, different cultures, different languages. There are lots of things we have. There's something very good about these groups, that is that when you are with the people of your own community, of your own place, we tend to put the people in boxes when they are very close, because you know, okay, he lives in this neighborhood, that's him. He went to that school, that's him. We have boxes in our communities. And these boxes disappear when you contact with people from online, because you don't know what box they are in. You don't know, you just know they are from a certain country, whatever that means, and probably it's a faraway country you've never been to, so it's like, it's exotic. But probably that person in his own place is in a box. So the openness that this not boxed possibility gives people is amazing, because you cannot connect from the heart. You don't have to defend your box, the box you have built around you to be who you are. So you learn a lot of things, and you communicate from a different place, and you really listen, because it's so different. Here we are all listening to each other. We are from different countries. I connect with Sophie because she speaks Spanish and she lived in Argentina. Sofia, that's great. But so Sofia knows what box I am in. I'm in Argentina. But the rest of us is like a faraway country in the south of America, whatever. You think we speak Spanish, but you're not sure. So there's nothing you know before about.
That is really marvelous. Go ahead, please.
No, it's okay. So that's an interesting thing, and it's something that can be used as an advantage in an online course, because we can really teach what we want to teach without being judged by locals. So that's a very good thing. I don't know how to continue.
Well, no. So as I said, your expression here and your clarity and your kindness is something that I see. I've never really thought about it the way you just described it, and the openness, because obviously we have our identities and we keep lathering on our identities, and in this kind of a space there's a freedom, as you described. But so I see it from the educational learner's point of view. I have seen that it is nice to not walk in with that, but I'd never seen it from the teacher's point of view. And the way you have always represented yourself, there's a straight to the point. There's a kind of the noise to static to noise ratio. You have a beacon through that. And so it's kind of opened up this whole idea to me. I'd like to teach online courses. I know that I have a lot of stuff that's in my way, both from the practical points of view and just the standard, too much information, and how to distill that. And so is that kind of, so I sit in this, so many options, I don't know what to do. Is that's the kind of overwhelm that maybe that your Quest programs helps people decipher?
Yeah, that's, and also what we do is, okay, we sit down and we say, okay, what is exactly that you have to offer? And when in some of the cases, what they teach me, you know? And when they teach me what they have to offer, I say, okay, this is great. This is the gift you have. Protect this gift. And how, and we make stories to teach that gift, because people learn with stories. And then 2 or 3 exercises that are tested on different people to see how they feel or react. As we are dealing with feelings here, it's very important that people have exercises or meditations or to internalize, and also, and later, a community, like the beautiful community that Jan is building, in order to feel safe and discuss what you have learned. This is like the basics, and I can help to cut down because there are so many things we are amazed with, and so many things that are great to teach others, but so we cannot do everything. So we have to choose. And that's what I can help people with. That's what I can.
Do you find, if I have taught in small group settings in the past, what are some of the biggest barriers for me moving into the online space? Because that's permanent, right? I want a small group setting. I can just apologize at the end and be like, I was off my game. But at the end of an online program, that's permanent. That's going out in the record. And so I really want to make sure I'm not missing something huge in, for example, like I know American-centric things are, I don't want to be American-centric, right? I'm trying to broaden that's because I don't know it, I don't even see that I'm doing it very often. That's a fear of mine. So,
and probably I am doing things because I'm Argentinian, and that's great. It's part of who you are. You don't have to say it's bad. The thing is that we are who we are with everything we have, because that's our background and what makes us special, and that's great. What is important is to listen to others. For example, you teach a class, okay, this is perfect for American, but there is a British person in the audience, and I have to be receptive to listen to what this person has and adapt to that message, but do not rush, because sometimes I always remember when I started to teach, I have a very funny story. I was teaching a class, a stupid class, and one student said, okay, how do you say buzón, it's a word in Spanish, in English? I didn't know, I was 20, and I say, they don't have that in the United States. Next class, my student came with a photograph. It was a post box, I will never forget. I say, how come they don't have? And as a teacher, I couldn't say I don't know. So I said, instead of saying I don't know, I said they don't have. It was like, so what you need to know is to know that you're learning with your students. And that's perfect.
That is perfect.
So this is all uncharted territory, and we are all doing it together. So the important thing is to listen, not from who we are, and not perceive things as attacks or they are testing me. No, honestly listen to what this person is trying to say or needs, and then give 2 or 3 options to see if where is really, if it's really a need or is an excuse not to learn, because we have a lot of things as when we are learning. A lot of students like to attack instead of changing. There are lots of processes that happen in person and also happen online. Well, as a teacher, if you have been with students when you are teaching things to change your inner world, we have a lot of beliefs built upon our inner world, so it's tough sometimes, and people get aggressive when they are not comfortable, and that also happens online. So what is important is if it's the course is not that you are not all the time like because you can design as doing the course in the moment, and people give you feedback in the moment. You just upload a video and then create a forum for people to start writing their opinions, but you need to guide that, and you need to supervise what happens after you say something, because you don't have control on that, and you have to respect it.
Well, and I imagine that is part of what helps the content get deeper and deeper, is through the reflections and perhaps unexpected responses from the people who are listening.
Yeah, normally that happens because they are not us.
Well, I think that's something that people really don't think about. I think oftentimes with online courses, they don't think about the interaction as much because they're just thinking about that piece. I would imagine that's a pretty big mistake.
Yes, and what happens now is that as information is everywhere, people can access information anywhere and they don't need a course. So if you create a course, you become a coach, a guide, and you have to create a recipient, a container for those people to feel safe and explore with boundaries. But it's not about repeating, okay, I have a glass, this is a glass. It's about people exploring, learning, understanding, feeling, and creating the context, creating the container where people feel safe. And then you have to hold it for a while until people start to evolve, and they learn what they can learn from you and move on.
Andrea, how do people engage you? How do people engage Quest programs?
Online. It's consistent. We are online. And they send me a message that they want to create a course, and we have some Zoom meetings like the one we are having. They tell me what they want to teach, if they want, because some people say, I want to teach. Okay, what? They don't want. You have like different levels of evolution. There was this lady who had a course. It was already finished, but she couldn't sell it. So what I did is I reviewed the material. I gave her some feedback on how I felt. It didn't work. But the audience was not Spanish. It was English. So I gave my feedback as an English speaker as a second language. So that could also have some drawbacks, good points and bad points. You know? But so that's how I engage. They contact me, and depending on the level of evolution or design of the course, I help them in the stage they're in to move on.
That's wonderful. So I'll be calling you directly after this call. I want to know, one of the things I'd like to finish up, but you have a lot of practical experience as a university professor with the educational technology degree. And if there was one piece that you could leave us with today, what would that be? With all that expertise, how you bring this into this space to help us facilitate these connections I'm very excited about it personally, because I really think that you hit the nail on the head, that academia is only addressing one part of the human, and we have this huge opportunity to address our full selves, both in the participation in these kinds of courses and in the creation of it. And I called you a teacher of teachers. offline and you were like, no, I'm a coach and a guide. You were very humble about it, but obviously what you're doing has the potential for enormous impact. And so I want to thank you for that and ask if there's anything else you'd like to leave us with.
What I think about is that we have no idea where we are going, but we are going to get there together. So it's great that being a teacher, you learn, the teacher is the one who learns the most from the students. It's like you just open a door and what you get is so much more than what you give. So I think it's amazing, this opportunity that internet and technology is giving us to contact with other people, with other cultures, with other languages. And maybe I'm not a massive person. I like more the tailored work and the small, the closeness. But the power that these groups have shown me that we can feel, and as humanity, the need we need to survive is going to be together. And we need to open lots of doors and to share what we know and to reach as many people as we can, because everybody, it's jam time, as Jean Houston says, and we will do it together. So whenever there is an opportunity for teaching and learning, it's great. I don't know.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's so true. That's really wonderful. That's really wonderful, Andrea. I'm Quest programs online and in the Synergy website. And we will find you because I think we're going to change the world.
Okay.
Thank you so much, both of you. That was just fascinating. I'd like to ask a question. It feels like what you're describing, Andrea, all these wonderful things to bring in would greatly benefit face-to-face courses as well. Things like having, time to assimilate things through meditation and things like that. What specifically do you see as a benefit of working online? Something in the technology, or I understand what you're saying about everybody being able to come together from all these different places without the box and the pigeonholing. But in terms of the technology for an online course, rather than a face-to-face, do you see, that even an online course has a benefit greater than that?
What happens online is that we use different types of attention, different techniques, it's not the same as online. And we have a wider reach. And what I say is the best thing about online is what I have mentioned. We don't have these boxes where we put people. So we're completely open for teaching and learning. And technology-wise, I don't know if you are speaking about the types of platforms. There are lots of applications, businesses that design the sites. I am not so much into the platform design, but more in the content design. Mm-hmm. But there are lots of things you can use, some free, some that are not free. But was that your question?
Sort of. I don't think I was very clear with my question, but it was a good answer.
That's what I understood from what you asked.
Does someone else have a question for Andrea?
Hi, Andrea. How are you?
Hi, Judy. Fine.
I just really enjoyed the interview style format that just took place. I thought that was lovely. And my question for you, as I look at online and what you had said about creating that experience, what is your favorite interactive online type of experience? Or what do you see your clients most often migrating towards, or how they're getting, who's giving them the most positive feedback about an experience that was really moving for them, or what, however they would describe it?
The ones I like very much are the ones that are Zoom is helping a lot because you can listen, talk, type. Zoom is giving a very nice video platform. And then I would go for Facebook, for a close group in Facebook, because there the interaction is quite flexible and you can guide it. And people don't have to sign up. Well, these things are in constant evolution. So maybe now if you have Facebook, you have an audience that is above 45 or 50. So those are the ones who have Facebook. So you have to see what's happening in the moment. But what you need to create is what is created here in Zoom, that we can talk and listen and chat at the same time. And then when we reflect, we need a social media or the one that is used in this moment for with the possibilities of Facebook. That shape is great because you can follow the thread, you can go up, you can search. Instagram, for example, doesn't give you that possibility. Twitter is too short, the messages. So it's but if you have a platform that has the same possibilities of Facebook, that's great. And if you don't need to log in, it's even better. But it has to be closed so people feel safe. So it's in constant evolution. I cannot say one platform or one space. But those are the things I think work better, at least in the groups I am in.
Okay. And maybe just another iteration of that. When you're on Zoom, let's say, how have you or your clients created interactivity to help people be comfortable in sharing or reflecting or whatever the case may be?
Well,
to create more interaction as opposed to really just being teacher-led.
Well, what happens there are some possibilities of creating separate groups for discussion, and then you share. And also depends on the culture. My husband he's a coach too, and he was teaching a course in Asia. And after the course, nobody asked a question. I don't know if nobody understood a word or what, but he finished the course and nobody had any question. And the person that hired him said, okay, we need to know if they understood, so find a way. And what he did is he started to talk to one of the people and said, oh no, in our culture, if you say any question, nobody answers. It's bad manners. What you need to do is to ask each person a question. For example, Jan, any question? And then Jan would answer. Linda, any question? So you have to be aware of the culture. In my country, people would ask a question even though they are not asked. Yes, they would jump before you finish. That's my tendency. So you need to be aware of who is on the other side and have lots of techniques. But in some cases, you can separate in groups and each group has to come with a question or a conclusion, or I do that with Google Documents in written in the classes. So every group has to prepare something. And education right now is not so much about checking. And this is what I like of the non-academic world too, because in the academic world, as you're given a certificate, you need to be sure that everybody's working. But in the non-academic world, you can create a space and people voluntarily do what they can give in that day. So, and then there is a conclusion of a group. So that's a good thing of this type of environments.
Thanks, Andrea. Liz, you were raising your hand.
I do. I have kind of two questions, and I ask Andrea as well as maybe the group. So two things I've heard about online courses. One is that typically the completion rate is less than 10%. And so that to me is kind of fascinating and disturbing, because it means a lot of people sign up, but very few actually complete the course or do the work. So I'm curious just your thoughts about that. And the other challenge I see in my business, and it's kind of related, is that most women that I meet and talk to are completely overwhelmed with life and all of the responsibilities, which keeps them from, number one, purchasing a course or working with you, but number two, obviously when they do purchase, completing the course. So I kind of throw that out there to everyone. I think that's something for us to really be aware of and try to determine what we can do to address that, so that we can help more women to engage with us. And I say women because I work only with women, but you know, help more to engage with us and to complete the material, which is what we're hoping. I mean, I suspect with this group, most of us aren't looking to sell something just to make money. We're selling it because we think it's really important and we want to share that information. And if they're not digesting it, then it really doesn't move us along. So I'm just curious what folks think about what can we do to address that.
Sophia has an answer. You're muted, Sophia.
Believe that the statistic that you just quoted about non-fulfillment or non-compliance with an entire program that somebody buys into is absolutely unanimous across all teaching spectrums when we're talking about people buying into programs and then engaging their attention and time and efforts into doing whatever that program has offered for them. So this is across the board, first of all. Secondly, when you ask the question, what do we do to help women? The answer to that comes right back to what each of us knows, and that is that when we find something that is important to us, and yet we too are overwhelmed with all of the demands on our individual lives, the only way to add something in is to release something that is not as important. So we have to make a decision. If we keep piling on, it just makes life that much more difficult. So the answer is to release something in order to get something better. And that is literally going to be a task of cultural enormity, because we live in a society that is driven by do, get, and go. And we can't do that and expand and grow in realms that are far more significant to our lives. And, I'll be quiet, and then I want to ask Andrea a question.
Now, connected with what you say, Sophie, that's why it's so important to have the spaces to listen to people. Because if people, what you said about online courses, I think this happens when you have a video, a question, a Google form or something, and there is no space where people are actually heard. Because if there is a place where people listen to you, like what Jan is doing with her Synergy, we make suggestions and she makes what she can based on what we ask. So we feel we are listened to. And if we feel we are listened to, we are engaged. So in these online courses, it's essential to listen and to be flexible, not to say, I want to teach the color of glasses, and people say, I need a bottle. No, you don't need a bottle. You need to know the glass. You cannot do that. So we need spaces for listening, and when the course is online, to show that you're listening. And that engages more. Obviously, there is a percentage of people who drop out because they want to do everything and they can't. And in these times, it's very common. And what you say, Sophia, that we have to let things go, but what comes has to be better. Otherwise, we are not going to let go something that we are used to.
Exactly.
And we have to accept that some people don't need what we want or are not ready for what we have to offer. That's part of it. It's our learning, not theirs. It's our path, not theirs.
I would be willing to bet everything that I own that the issue is not so much that people are not ready for it or they don't have space for it, but that between the ears in our thinking drives our decision making processes. And so if in our thinking we conclude that we don't have the ability, we don't have the time, we don't have the money, we don't have the energy, we don't have the support, and on and on and on, it doesn't matter what we do, we are not going to invest where we feel, where our mind tells us. It's like sabotaging. You know, our mind sometimes trips us up such that when we want something, I mean, we can look at this in our own lives. When we really want something, we start to think about, well, maybe I shouldn't do this right now, or maybe the timing isn't right. And we go on and on and on and on, when down deep inside, we're yearning for something better, more sanity in our lives, more peace in our world, more organization to our system of living, and more meaning, most of all. Meaning.
I have a feeling you've really hit on the germ, the kernel that would make a difference, and that is getting in touch with the yearning. So if, as Andrea says, before you even design your course, in a way, if you've been in touch with the people, the sort of people who you're hoping to attract, and then find out what it is they're yearning for, and then speak to that, maybe.
Yeah, so provide a space for the heart and for the spirituality, not just for the mind. I tell you a story with our Quantum Co-Creators group, because we are doing something funny. In May, they're going to be 3 years. We are getting together every week to talk about Jean's courses, about our paths, about what we are learning, and it's all a very spiritual learning. And we discuss lots of things. We are great friends, and we have never met. There's a lady from Japan, one from the United States, 3 from London, 1 from Germany, 2 from Finland, and I myself from Argentina. So you have people. And we decided to, okay, what do we feel we have to do? What do we feel we have to do? I said, we have to get together. And I said, but how come we don't have the money for that? Our rational mind says, crazy. I cannot get there. Argentina now is in the middle of a terrible financial crisis of the old system. I will never get the money. And we say, okay, let's ask the universe and see what it answers. And in our meditations every day, we have chosen a tree that is near the house of a friend in London, I think it's not London, Hampshire or Herefordshire, that's the place. And we are meditating with that tree in mind to see to feel or to sense what that tree has to tell us. We have no clue. We are not in control. But we have given up, and we are trying to connect to other type of force. If we have to get together, it's okay. If not, it's okay too. And that's what we are doing. We are moving not from the rational mind. We are trying to connect to the other energies that right now are asking us to be heard. But we have no tools because our mind translates everything into excuses or things, or no, it's not logical, or I need this. So we have given up. We have said, thank you very much, been so useful, but now I need to develop other channels. I tell you in June what happens. But we are so, and this is what happens when you teach a course. It's not about you. It's not about your self-defenses that come from a rational thing. It come from a different place.
Yeah, that's really.
But it's new and nobody knows, and it's great. I love that unpredictability.
That's wonderful, and yeah, we all need to get that, some of that playful sense you've got there, Andrea, of not knowing how it's all going to turn out. And yeah, that's
life.
Yeah, really nice, really nice. I like that. Does anyone else have a question for Andrea or a comment on, on the discussion? Julia.
I'm going to need to go in for a minute, but what I wanted to say is, first of all, I love this conversation. I'm just getting so many insights, and this is amazing. And what I was thinking about, especially in terms of the completion rate, meaning people finishing the programs. So I'm thinking, like, what if there is a way to, I don't want to call it like, not, I guess have a prize at the end. So like people, so it's not just, because, a lot of people are very self-motivated. I'm one of those people. I have no problem finishing programs, but I know, like, especially from my personal training days, some people are just not like that. They need some sort of a prize at the end. It's like, I'm going to go through this and, I'm going to receive something like really valuable, and then they stick to it. So I just wanted to throw it out there because as a possibility.
Great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, what do you think about it, Andrea?
I would love to have a prize at the end. Yes, of course. It's the carrot at the end of. I am sort of a compulsive finisher. So whenever I start, I have to finish, and that gives me trouble because I want to finish everything and start. But that, in my personal case, the certificate is like the finishing feeling is enough. But in this, for younger generations, I think it's not. They need like little carrots or little presents or little gifts in the middle to move on. Like the video games, there is a very nice program for learning English that is Duolingo. It's an application, but it made learning English a game or any language, and that helps a lot, for example. So yes, it's a great, maybe a short video, the reward, but anything you get because you have reached a certain level or step, it's great for most people.
Just to tell you how true that is, there's a game that my husband and son have been playing that is essentially, it's called Sea of Thieves, but it's essentially a dress-up game for pirates. Like, everything in the game you do so that you can buy your pirate a peg leg or a patch or different things. And my 40-year-old husband and 11-year-old son are totally obsessed with making their pirate look the way they want their pirate to look. That blew me away. I could have expected that from I grew up with fashion plates and stuff that you would do this stuff, but it never occurred to me that would work on a grown man. And it does. Hours. Can't even tell you how many hours to get that pirate outfit.
Yeah, the brain is designed for that. Now with video games, that's what the brain needs. In the learning process.
I thought there would be something a little more noble as well, but no, it's straight up dressing. It's straight up paper dolls in video game format. So never underestimate the prize is, I guess, and it doesn't have to be a big prize. It just has to be a meaningful prize in that context.
Yeah, sticker, whatever.
That's really my bag. Positive reinforcement stuff is kind of my.
Oh, right. Well, add what you were going to add now.
And then she can edit it in.
Okay, so I was going to just add on to, I think it was Julia who mentioned about some kind of reward base. which is a great idea. It's something that I use with animals. Of course, scientifically proven to work with all animals is positive reinforcement training, and of course it works with humans. It's a little bit like taking us to the slot machine. So we keep putting in the coins, hoping that it's going to pay out. Yeah, you know, and we keep and we win, and we think, oh, we've got all this bucket of money, and we go, oh, let's put it in again because we just might win some more. You know, and it's that kind of mentality, and it kind of grips people, and it kind of keeps people there. So so that was really quite exciting that Julia opened that up, and I was kind of, oh, this is positive reinforcement. This is great. I'm sure there's somehow, you know, that could be integrated somehow into, I suppose, what we're all doing, and it's a great thought because it's something that I obviously use with animals and also, you know, with people, and of course, you know, we're not giving people carrots unless they want carrots, but you know, you know, great praise, and the thing is to remember with that kind of system as well is to really go for and praise a try. You know, so even breaking it right down into tries for people, and that really gets people really engaged. You know, so I kind of wanted to have that, but we had a power cut. Can't believe it.
Oh,
sorry about that. But that was just my participation that I kind of wanted to have.
Yeah, I think that's great, and it's as Leela was saying, it doesn't have to be a valuable prize. It just needs to be something that gives the buzz, doesn't it? And
that could just be a word. You know,
right.
It just could be praise. It could just be, you know, fabulous, well done, magnificent, you know, beautiful, all these positive words, you know, that can be enough for people. I don't know, really. I'd have to think, because I come from an animal aspect of that, so I'd have to kind of think about it. I think I do it naturally with people, but actually being put on the spot and asked about it, I'm not really sure what I do. I just do it naturally. So, but yeah, and it's something simple. Yeah, exactly. Anything. It doesn't need to be anything big. You know, but it's something that kind of keeps it rolling. And maybe at the end, then you come to the big prize, you know, so where the bandit really pays out.
The chocolate coins,
whatever you like.
Nice one, Sophia.
Thank you. When you are doing your cross-continent programs online, Andrea, do you ever run into language blocks when words are not adequately translated into a prospective person's language?
What happened in this international group, there are only 3 who are native speakers of English, no, 4, and the others are second language. Those who had a low level are getting better and better every meeting. So that's a great thing. Oh. They didn't speak a lot at first, and I think they didn't understand much at first, but little by little, they're getting more fluent and with better English. What I have noticed is that I always wanted to do these courses with people in my own language, and I noticed the difference when I had this group of Spanish speakers. I am fluent in English. Well, I'm a translator, but it's my second language. And I noticed that there are certain areas of my brain, now that we are speaking about feelings, emotions, and spirituality, there are certain areas I cannot access in English as easily as I do access in Spanish. So it's not a blockage, but there are certain triggers that are turned on with Spanish, good and bad, I have to tell you. It's not, but there are certain things I do not access the same in English and in Spanish. But not blockages. We help if somebody wants to say something, we are patient, we listen. that's not the case, because everybody's very safe and it's always the same people, so we are friends. But there is a difference.
Thank you.
Judy.
I'm going to jump off. Before I do, I wanted to just share one of the pieces of the process that you described, Andrea, when you're working with your clients. And the first part was the gift and protecting the gift. Oh my gosh, that just is so poignant. So I wanted to share that with you, that when we think about that element of teaching, sharing, and building community, if we protect the gift, that's like, to me, the ultimate paradigm shift in what's trying to be accomplished. And so thank you for saying that in the way that you did. And I'm really basking in that piece of information. So thank you. And everybody, many blessings. I'll see you. I actually won't be here next week, but I'll listen in and know that I'm sending you many blessings.
Thank you, Judy. Bye.
I have to completely agree with that gift of that idea of that is, because there is so much noise. And being able to help people decipher through that is a true talent. So we all need it.
I can't help it. It's my essence.
Oh, gosh. Any more questions or comments?
Thank you for
Thank
listening.
you, Andrea. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Andreas. Thank you, Sophia, for what your words. Everyone's words are beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for your lovely interview, Leela.
I don't know that I did Andrea justice. I think actually my interview before the call was probably a better interview than during the call. But yeah, you know, I thought that it was an important sector prior to this call, online training, but kind of between the context of where academia's focus is and this opportunity and the multicultural piece, it kind of mushroomed for me through Andrea's explanation and your work. So that's exciting. It really is.
Yes, that's my takeaway too, I think, is the way you described it as a really beautiful way for people to connect, especially with this kind of less judgment, because we're not arriving with advertising baggage. You know, we're just here, okay, we're in our little boxes, but they're a very different design, aren't they? Yeah, and that it could be such a connecting space with the heart as well. I hadn't really thought about that for the learning environment. But I especially love that you're saying, you know, we're all learning together. I love that. Yeah. I would gravitate towards a teacher who put it like that and gave lots of time listening. I certainly would.
Okay.
So I think we'll call that a huddle, unless anybody's got anything else that they want to ask or add. I think that's been just another gorgeous gathering. So thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Everyone, thank you.
Bye-bye.